Oh, it got cut off.
Just at the very end. It says, yeah, the ending's wrong, so it cuts off. Jesse, would you like to host? Or would anyone else like to host?
Oh, I thought you were hosting.
Oh, no. I wasn't. I can do, I suppose. I'll host. Unless someone would like to do it.
Take it away, Chris.
Okay. So, as always, each week we meet and we have a set period of time.
I can offer to do it, but go ahead.
Too late. Oh, there's Chris as well. I'll put Chris in. So each week we meet, we have a set period of time that we all discuss and go through what we've been up to and opinions, and then we go into matters which are of interest to chief delegates and the rest of the community. So is it 15 minutes we each get?
Yeah.
Yep. And Jesse, would you like to go first?
Sure. Hello, everyone. For this week, we are talking about the artwork. We're going to build some artwork for the NTT that hopefully we'll be able to ship by the next election. And so we talked with Lars and we agreed to terms, and he has sent over some concepts that I want to share with the CDs here. And the purpose or the goal is to see if we can get 4 to 5 of us to agree on a path. He gave us 5 different paths. So what I told him was about protection in general, civil protection, just the general theme of protection. So I'm going to just go ahead and read it for the listeners out there. So the first one is a shield concept. This was discussed on our call, something dramatic like a scene from 300, but not Spartan specific, but several arrows stuck in the front of a shield would make for a captivating image while conveying the idea of protection. So that's the shield. Then we have a scarab. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but
just a quick question. Sorry to interrupt. You want a screen share at this point, or are you just reading?
Yeah, I'll do a screen share. Yeah, good.
Oh, okay. Just in case you thought you were, because I wasn't sure.
But I think that would be better if I did. Just a moment. All right, here we go. You guys can see my screen?
Yep, see your Telegram chat.
All right. So the scarab is a protection symbol of ancient Egypt, which is associated with the god Khepri.
I don't see the scarab. Can you bring these up while you're talking about them?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I see a Telegram.
So the scarab is right here, and then I'm going to click the
link.
link.
So there's no image. Yeah, click on the link. That'd be great.
Right. But I'm not sharing. Okay, sorry. I have to do this. All right, just my whole screen. There we go. Okay, so this is just an example, and then I'll. Oh no. Sorry, guys. I'm just gonna put this to the side so we can see it also. Well, that's good, right? Can we see everything?
Yeah, all good, Jesse. That's good. We can't quite see the full image, but it'll do for now.
Yeah. So, protection symbol for ancient Egypt, god of the god Khepri, who's the god of creation and rebirth. The symbol is used in jewelry as protection against dangers in the afterlife. In the ancient ages, the symbol was seen in Greek and Egyptians, and however, now this can be seen all around the world. The body of this beetle is symbolic of protection, and the wings are symbolic of rebirth. And this was something that he did for the wax community. Then the crows, which is my personal pick. This is another protective symbol that represents change and transformation. People believe this symbol as a power of foresight and future trends. I'm going to pull up the crow as we talk about it. Waxa also commented that he really likes this. I think the design looks awesome, and the heart could be the
+1. I like it too.
Cool. In different cultures, it has different meanings. In Celtic culture, the crow symbol stands for prophetic knowledge and individuality. They also believe this as a symbol of abilities and skills. He loves crows and would love to draw crows. Actually, just before he sat down, he fed his own crows, and he has 2 taxidermy crows in his living room. So Yeah, that's great. All right, dragonflies. This protection symbol is, and there's no visual example of the next two, so use your best imagination. This protection symbol is used to represent self-realization, expansion, transformation, as well as spiritual activities. They are believed to have a blend of fire and water and energy. The symbol represents maintaining a balance between masculine and feminine approaches in daily and spiritual life. This symbol signifies the beginning of a highly energetic period in personal and professional life. The lotus is a symbol of tranquility, purity, and beauty. Egyptian culture, death and rebirth. In Buddhism, it's enlightenment, purity, faithfulness. In Hinduism, it's spirituality, prosperity, as well as fertility. And then there's the warrior. One less option could be a representation of many of these concepts. We can do a general thing. Warriors fight with weapons in the blazing shape of a coco nan, which, oh yeah, he's got one. So there's that. And that's it. Mo had the idea of combining the warrior, the shield, and the arrow, and the scarab, which is a beetle. Although, of course, that made me think of bees, not a beetle. But so that's what we got, guys. So we have 3 so far for the crow, and we have not gotten Chris's or Javier's opinion on it yet.
I mean, I think that they all look like really good possibilities, and I would like to defer my vote to Jesse. I think you know what you're doing better than me. I'm more of the tech guy. You guys can figure out the artwork. I don't have an opinion really right now, so I'll just.
All right, so
abstain.
Javier abstains. Or I'll take his vote. So we don't even need to get Chris's opinion, but I'd love to hear it anyways.
I thought it was pretty cool. All what you're doing, it's all awesome. Any option would be a good option in my view. So,
all right, great. So we've decided it's the crow with the heart, the chestahedron. I think it's going to be awesome, and I look forward to telling him and seeing some drafts. He's doing ink and color. The space monkey one. Let me see if I can. If people watching haven't seen this, let me just share my screen one more time. Present. So just to get an idea who this guy is, so I mean this is great. This is the Immutable Realms first edition for EOS that just launched. I'm trying to find the monkey. There it is. So this was Brandon Lovejoy's idea, who was a chief delegate in season 1, and he felt like space monkeys because we had it was very difficult for us. It was so new, and we weren't sure what to do. And so I really like this. I think it's awesome, and I'm so happy that the timing has been awesome on this, because Lars just finished his Immutable Realms, and now he can take on our project. So the timing couldn't have been better, and it's kind of all falling in here. So yeah, that is my part of the call. Looks like we're about 15 minutes after. I know we started a little later, so I think I've done like 11 minutes, but yeah, go ahead, Reggie.
Sure, and we can actually bring in Luca for the rest of your time. Perfect. So Luca, I think you've got 3-4 minutes.
Well, let Luca. Luca have his own time, maybe. But
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, maybe Luca. Maybe you take 15 minutes then. What do you think, Waxa?
Yeah, that's great. It'd be good to have an update from you, Luca. Thank you for joining.
Okay. Hi guys. Hope you hear me right.
Yes.
I don't have 15 minutes prepared, so it will probably be much shorter. So yes, my boat basically. It's called upvote bot. We rename it on the Pomelo, and basically it's being built. It's almost being tested. It was supposed to be today, but we found one another bug. I can do like a quick overview of it, like what it does. So the base functionality is basically just to remind people that they need to sign in for election. So in let's say in like 1 month prior, 2 weeks prior, 1 week prior, and so on. This is the idea is that we will increase in retention with that. And the second function that is more heavy is basically it's supposed to replace Zoom. Zoom as is used currently needed. So the base idea is that the bot basically reads the contract, sees how the rooms were split, and then it creates basically the groups. It creates the groups for each Telegram groups for each of participants. It invites them in. It gives them like invite link if it needs to be shared for some reason. So if somebody doesn't follow the bot, and then basically it just invites them to the call on that group. People just join on the call, click record, and that's it. So it's much easier on new users that, for instance, don't know how Zoom works. It's much easier to record. It's much easier to just join in and jump in. There's basically less buttons to press. So yeah. And then it reminds you that like your 5 minutes, you have 10 minutes, then you have 5 minutes till for the vote, and that's basically what it does. It just replaces this same thing in each round, and at the end of the day, it basically also creates like a group for cities, and they can just join in, and that's it. Yeah, I think that's the base
I
overview.
personally want to say I think that's freaking awesome and super helpful, especially with the video recording, because I know that's a huge challenge. So this is definitely going to make that whole process easier. So thank you, or at least it sounds like it will.
Yeah, I mean it should. So I'm inviting you to testing again, CDs and everybody else in Eden that wants to. It will be on Monday. Basically at the same hour, basically 1 hour prior to current hour. I don't know what's the. Let me check. Sorry. So this is like 13 EST, right? Yeah, and then that, yeah, maybe I just I remembered one. Another function is basically if UI doesn't work, it also gives you like a blocks, direct blocks link to vote on the chain, and it also tries to pre-fill everything except like your voting choice. But you also have like a voting choice listed in the group itself, so it's really easy to just copy paste and go on.
It sounds great, Luca. I'm just wondering a couple things. So you mentioned reminders. So we have election reminders, and we have time limit reminders. I just want to clarify that implies that we can do other reminders or other messages outside of those two domains. Is that correct?
I mean, right now it's kind of written in, right, the times. And the second thing is that we do want to make sure that people don't turn the notifications off for that bot. So it does need to be light as much as possible, because if we start like notify them about different things, some people will just turn off, right? So right. Yes, it's possible, but personally I think it should be like really just for this one use case, if it's possible, and it's better.
So you have two use cases, right? You have election reminders, and then you have the time limit reminders in the election. Yeah,
the time limit reminders are basically mostly sent. Well, they're sent in both, but in group as well. basically you are in group with people that you are voting with. So the
so
bot.
Okay, so it sends
Yeah.
it to the group and sends it to your bot DM.
Yeah, it does both. It does both. Yeah. The reason is that in the main group we cannot put custom links in it. So because there is a custom link for blocks, because it needs to pre-fill your account.
Okay. The other thing I'm thinking about, and I think Chris Barnes, you had mentioned this, that this gives us the flexibility to change the time duration for each election group cycle. Is that correct?
Yes and no. First, it does. It just follows the contract itself. So from that perspective, no, everything is fixed. But what does change is that basically with current web web portal, the timings are not really reflecting what is on the chain. For instance, timing, it tells you that you need to vote, but you actually have like 10 minutes more in practice. So what we choose to do is just follow the contract itself, and that will basically give you around 55 minutes, I think, of time, of video time, basically. And also our notifications will not follow the web ones, so they will follow the contract. So yeah, I think why they did that was because of the Zoom limit for the free accounts, right? There is some time limit, and they basically just faked it on the web, so people just go out and vote. But in practice, yeah, you get a little bit more time that way.
And this is not about your bot, but I just want to clarify that it's a maximum of 6 people per group. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not completely sure. First, the bot has like it can be whatever, so it's not limited per bot. It will just follow the contract. But the last time I talked with my dev, he said that there is a 5-person limit. So I'm not completely sure what limits he looked like. But
Javier,
for
do
the
you
last
know?
election, it was 5, right? So I'm not sure now
sure.
if this is.
I knew at some
Yeah,
point either 5 or 6, but I know there's a fixed limit, maximum group size.
So my developer said 5. I'm
Okay,
just
then it's
not
probably
sure
5.
if.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Thank
I'm
you.
not sure if what exactly he meant. That's my point.
All right, great. Yeah, that's all my thoughts and questions. Thank you, Luca.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, awesome work. It's great to see this coming to life, and congratulations, Luca, and thank you for doing that.
Well, yeah, thank you all for listening, and I hopeful testing in Monday. And then basically the decision will have to be pulled if we move for this in for the January elections, right? So from my perspective, of course, I wanted to do it. The question is, what happens with Zoom links, right, in current web portal? And my basically answer would be, well, we can just leave it there. So people can just follow this process, and they can have like a backup for Zoom, I guess, and then we can fix it in the next season, maybe.
Is that
That
because
makes sense.
the Zoom link activates the part of the UI where it says each person and the time limit and you vote? Because you need to create that Zoom link first, right?
Yes, that's good. That's a good point. Does it activate at the time? I'm not sure. Yeah, we need to test that. That's a good point.
We have the Zoom Marketplace, and there's an app that we've built in Zoom, factually built, that generates links for every room. And when the room's open, you can click on the link and go to the Zoom room that was generated by this app. Those links are a bit confusing sometimes because some people have access to record, some people don't. So it would be good to double check what the permissions are around those rooms and just make sure everyone can record okay. But
Yeah,
there
but
is
Well, yeah, right. But if we maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's your decision at the end of the day. CD's decision. But if we go with Telegram, there will not be those issues anymore, right? So my basically the only question for me, like if we integrate, is what happens with current Zoom links in the web portals, and basically there's
So
if
Javier,
there is some issue to move it
the
forward.
question is this app that you're referencing from Fractally. The question is, do we need to use that app and therefore Zoom to activate the UI for the voting on the original UI?
No. That's just an additional. But what we can do, Luca, is we can use the Telegram process as the official process. Make sure that works right. And if we're all really happy with the way that works, if it's way easier, if people are like, yes, this is much better, then we can think about deactivating the current system. But I wouldn't want to deactivate it prior to testing this new way.
I agree. In any way, it would work. It can work just besides it. So I think that's fine. So for the next election, it will be up to you. It would be up to you to tell people which is the default process. Of course, I will not mess with that. But yeah, we don't really need to change the UI right now.
We can add a text on the UI that says something like this: please check Telegram for your correct Zoom link. And just kind of a disclaimer on the UI saying, we're using Telegram this round, and just simple text change that's easy to deploy, and then we can see if we want to replace the Zoom app later.
I was going to make the comment that we ask for the Telegram and part of the profile for members as well. So we would have that Telegram to be able to send out too. So this would make it a much more integrated ecosystem than using Zoom, which has more dependencies that I think can break. So I think sticking with Telegram with all of our integrations, I think is very wise.
Do we know what the cost saving will be when we transfer across to Telegram from what we're currently using on Zoom?
I mean, for the usage itself, if you're asking this, it's basically the same. Both is free, right? Oh, maybe there is a cost for the
Zoom Premium cost,
something like that.
Okay.
For the Zoom app marketplace, is there a cost there, Javier?
Yeah, we're paying $40 a month for Zoom Marketplace currently.
Okay, I mean, this thing is cheaper basically. So it uses one server, so one Docker and one database, and this is kind of like so if we put it together, it's but it's less than $20 per month. So
good stuff. Thank you for coming on, Luca.
Thank you, guys.
Is anything else you'd like to share before you drop off?
I'm fine. I think I did everything.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Bye.
Much.
Take care. Okay. Who would like to go next? Anyone want to raise a hand? If not, I'm going to randomly pick someone. Oh, Reiki, you just raised your hand. Thank you.
Great. I'll kick mine off with a presentation then. Let's see. Share screen. Head it over here. Yeah. All right. So I came into a completely chaotic environment where not a lot of people knew what was going on, and we didn't really have an organization structure, and people didn't really know how to contribute. Not only that, it wasn't really clear what the vision and mission of Eden was. So we're kind of still starting with this amorphous organization, trying to figure it all out. So this is what I've been attempting to do for the last few months, diving into Telegram chats, lots of Telegram chats, talking to a lot of the cool members out there, getting to meet people, which has been great, and getting a lot of people's opinions and feedback on what they think is going on here. So what I've prepared here is version 1.0, looking to get feedback from all the delegates here on how close I may have got this. What you see presented here is it's called the 3 Horizons framework. For those who are not familiar with this concept, it's different than like a timeline where it goes one thing, then the next thing. This is more 3 simultaneous trajectories that could be happening with any community, business, or group of people doing anything really, where you have three kind of dimensions that are all moving us forward. So for the first horizon, this is kind of business as usual is how it's typically seen. Second dimension is like, revolutionary change. Why the third dimension is Renaissance-worthy change, if you will. So one other way of looking at it is Horizon 1 is extending the core of operations. 2 is developing new opportunities. Why 3 is creating altogether new things that may have not even been created before. So that's another way of looking at this framework. So this is what I'm presenting as a way of helping Eden move forward. Okay. I'll get into these a little bit more in detail now. So what do I see as the first horizon? So the first horizon of what is Eden doing is we're researching, developing Sybil-resistant decentralized governance tools. The Eden upvote process, and a whole bunch of other things that we're getting into all the time on how do we govern decentralized systems and decentralized communities. We're also distributing EOS, which is what the upvote process does, to empower community-selected members, i.e. chief delegates and layer 1 delegates, to support EOS. So that's kind of what we're doing currently. And how we support this is we're planning on launching new language-based Edens, right? So it's not just English speaking that's predominant. The other languages will be able to have their own version of Eden running as well. We have the Eden upvote to distribute EOS. So we're trying to perfect that process, which you just saw Luca come on and talk about a Telegram bot that helps that seasonal process where we go and upvote and select new layer 1 and chief delegates. The other thing we're working on to extend this, and this is what I think you're doing, Jesse, is that Sybil-resistant NFT NTT. So we just saw the artwork of that today. So this is us on our first horizon. We're building these 3 particular tools for the EOS and Antelope communities. Did I miss anything in our Horizon 1? How are we following so far? Any questions before I keep going?
Eden Smart Proxy, probably be on Horizon 1 as well.
Maybe. I'll explain Horizon 2 where I think it belongs. And you can tell me if I got it right. But I'll do that next. Anything else for Horizon 1?
No, it looks like a good start. I'm curious to hear more.
Cool. So another thing about Horizon 1, is, it's kind of focused on building. We're really building a lot of stuff. Horizon 2 is about gaining trust. And you see this is huge, and there's a lot of lack of trust going on right now. It's kind of interesting and perfect timing for all of this. But what we're really trying to do is offer improved trust and transparency in BP governance as well. So the selection of who's producing blocks on the EOS blockchain. So this is also us researching and developing an entirely new way for layer 1 blockchains to be able to govern who's producing blocks, right? So it's really interesting. And for new projects seeking aligned members. So we're building trust for that. And that's our Sybil-resistant process, right? So, for example, a new NFT project wants to airdrop some new NFTs to a bunch of community members to start their community. Well, currently, if they try to do that, a bunch of bots steal it all, and maybe those bots are ran by 5 people pretending to be 500 people, right? So you're not really building a community, you're just building a bunch of bots, right? And until AI gets good enough, that's not really a fun community. So that's another thing, is we could build trust for these projects to be able to say, we want our tokens or NFT artworks or whatever to go to a trusted group of people. And that's what Eden is we are going through this Sybil-resistant process so that people know everyone who's an Eden member is an actual human. And then with this, we can create tailored Sybil-resistant airdrop lists, right? Where we can say there's a group of people who are interested in NFTs, for example, and we know they're actual humans. So when a new community, wants to launch their NFT, they can go and seek that service from Eden. The other thing for building trust is that Eden Smart Proxy, right? And we've explained that a lot. I'm not even going to attempt to do that because we did that last week. The last one I've added here is Eden upvote for BPs. Now, maybe EOS doesn't do this, but other Antelope chains could consider this, where the BPs themselves go through the Eden upvote process to pick the top 21 VPs, right? So just how we go about picking chief delegates and layer 1 delegates, block producers might do that same process for picking who is going to be the best at producing blocks and doing it themselves. And we can do it consciously and thoughtfully. We could say, well, we want them distributed across the globe. So that could be something that just humans come together to do, and make sure we're picking block producers that are, dynamically located. Or we can use a whole bunch of other things that could change, and it's block producers themselves that are coming up with this list, finding consensus, and pick who's going to make the blocks for the next cycle, right? So that could be really powerful, and it's something that we're building the foundations for, right? So that's really our second horizon, is Eden is exploring trust and building trust in not only the EOS community itself, but for any antelope chains, and hopefully the greater world. But anyway, that comes next. Any thoughts, questions, or anything on Horizon 2? And how am I doing so far? Am I pretty much getting it, missing stuff?
So all of these paths are kind of running simultaneously, or is it a more linear roadmap?
Well, that's exactly why it's horizons,
Yeah.
rather than dependencies where it goes one then the next, because it doesn't necessarily have to, but sometimes they interfold. But the horizons idea is that any group of people is thinking about and working towards all three horizons at the same time. It's just you achieve Horizon 1 before you do Horizon 2, before you get through Horizon 3, right? So it's a little bit different than, this is what we do in quarter 1, 2, 3. We're doing all of this stuff every quarter. We're slowly working towards all of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, good so far, from my opinion.
Yeah, likewise. I makes sense, and I think you're getting it correct.
Excellent. Then Horizon 3 is where I'm kind of more focused on. What I think is most interesting too is growing. So it's not just, building and working on stuff and, making it work. It's not just about building trust anymore. We need trust first before we really start growing. But growth is where I really think we're going. So this is where I think the mission for EOS, or Eden rather, might change. We help communities of verified humans, wherever they are, build their own versions of Eden, whatever that may be. Together, powered by EOS and Antelope, right? So this is more of the long-term vision. It's not just us looking at how do we power the EOS network. It's how do we bring in anyone out there, whether you're a sewing circle or a startup city, or you want to build your own network nation or whatever it is. Now you're being able to use the Eden process. Come join EOS, and I'm thinking of this Eden incubator that we might call Eden for all. Eden for all. I'm outside and it's getting a little bit cold, so you hear me shivering now. So
All good.
Sun's going down. Anyway, so I have this idea of Eden for all. It's kind of an Eden incubator where communities can come. They're like, yep, we love this idea of decentralized governance, doing it transparently, etc. Like, we want to join EOS, and this is how we really grow outside of just inward facing. This is outward facing, right? The other big element of this is having these cultural subgroups / circles within each Eden. So we've been talking about this in previous calls, where let's say within the English Eden, we have one circle for the NFT circle. We have another one for the decentralized governance circle. We have another one who's, the independent party of the US. We can have an infinite number of these circles and subgroups. But then what it looks like is when you join Eden, you become a member, and then you go and join the subgroups and circles you want to be a part of. And then this simultaneously creates those tailored lists for, the Sybil resistant airdrops. Because now we can have a group of NFT collectors. So now instead of just dumping your NFT on a group of people who might not care about it, now you can go to the ones that have specifically said, yeah, we're really interested in this, right? But then that's also where you form community. You meet other people, hopefully set up new DAOs and start coordinating whatever it is we're out here to coordinate and do, right? Yeah, I'll pause there. Third horizon, what do y'all think?
Yeah, it's great. I just have a question. The statement under grow, I remember reading this. You came out with it maybe like a month ago, and I think it was framed back then as a mission statement, but now it seems like it's framed in a different way.
No, it's definitely a mission statement. And this kind of 3 paradigms thing, we might have 3 mission statements, right?
Oh, okay.
It's still a
that-
mission statement for us. It's just our mission statement for growth. That's helping communities, whoever they are, use our tools. That's how we grow. But our mission statement for building trust is a little bit different, right? Which I didn't form one. I just generalized. And same thing on, what we've been building, which was our first mission statement, I think, is kind of just talking about setting this whole thing up, right?
So in like Eden CD history, this mission statement has been a thing, obviously. And I think it's really interesting to consider adopting 3 mission statements. I really like that.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you at all, Dietrich.
No, go ahead.
Usually you have one overarching mission statement, which covers everything. And then the 3 in between, I think, is great. But the overarching mission statement would kind of be outward facing, part of the marketing and growth section. So which is probably why that one fits in there, right? I think what you've done here is great. Earlier today, we were on another call, and we were talking about what Jesse's been doing with the whitelisting service and the civil protection, etc. One of the points was on the structuring of the DAO. If we have multiple circles and they run Eden elections and they qualify themselves for civil protection within that small ecosystem, to join a circle, all you have to do is join Eden. The Eden process itself, the election process, should focus on governance, and then all the circles can do whatever they like using that election process. And all of the goals that are currently going, I think, are still met within that structure. I'm not sure if that changes any of the layout on the growth section there or not. Maybe more of a direction towards the central pillar being governance, and then other concepts and other interests surrounding that. I'm not sure if that would be good to put in.
Yeah, I'd say think about that and give me the text that would fit in a box like this of what encapsulates what you're saying, and I'll add it to this.
Brilliant. Would you be okay to share the deck with me afterwards?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, good stuff.
To me, it seems like it would fit in the third horizon, because you're talking about circles, and there's different circles here, but maybe the slight difference from Wax was saying is that the circles themselves have their own upvote process, right? Wax?
Yeah, and that's essentially the concept with Fractally, right? Is you can do this all the way up and down. But yeah, I think it would be interesting, and it is interesting, that every circle can choose their own governance process. But yeah, it'd be great to use the Fractally. Anyway,
right.
that's too, right?
Yeah. I really definitely a big fan of letting each circle decide how they govern, for sure. The freedom, it's an opportunity to be free, make your own community within this larger ecosystem, larger DAO. Yeah, so great. Obviously, if they don't use
sorry, go on.
I'll be quick. If they don't use the Eden process, then they'll have to have some other way which the chief delegates would have to then agree upon to be civilly protected, to qualify for NFT drops, etc., to be included in the whitelist. So,
well, I mean, but they're already on the backs of Eden itself, right? So,
yeah, but they're not necessarily what they are as members. So they've got some level of civil protection. So because they went on camera with 2 of the chief delegates, so they have that level. But then if they don't have the more updated version at every single election that we have, then a lesser degree of civil protection, but still good enough.
I think what Reiki was saying is that, so first they go through the main election. So they've been checked, and then they go into a circle that has their own election. But even if they don't use the upvote process in that circle election, they've already been through that first election. So they don't necessarily, they can pick a different process to organize themselves that doesn't necessarily check for civil.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. I think there's 2 points. One is that if they don't keep attending the election process, which is focused around governance, they won't be on the latest up-to-date version of civil protection, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. And that's when we talked about issuing NTTs for each one, and then we let whoever cares about the civil decide what layer they care about. If they have the latest NTT, or if they've got the last 5, or whatever.
Right. So on Wax's point, the CDs may require that everyone in the circle has the latest NTT.
Yeah. But I don't think we should limit someone who wants to join a circle but isn't interested in governance to have to take part in a governance election.
Oh, sure. Then they just wouldn't be on those tailored lists because they wouldn't have the NTT, which puts them on the list.
Yes, but they have to join Eden, which is just an interview. So they would have that level of civil protection, right? So I don't think we should force anyone into an election to qualify for getting involved in NFTs or art or any other interest.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, great point.
This is great.
Anything else on this? And then I've got a little bit more to go before closing up.
Let's see the next bit.
All right, so this is where I just speak a little bit more about the Eden for All. So that's just a repeat of that mission statement. So this is where, it starts to make sense, especially for a lot of people who are new to this whole Web3, EOS, decentralized governance, DAO. I mean, it's it's really overwhelming. As I've been talking to Eden members, I mean, a lot of them are, completely new to this whole thing. I was kind of overwhelmed by it. But when speaking about it in this format, and I think it starts to make a lot more sense to a lot of people. So this process is for any community wanting to use transparent, decentralized, and democratic processes to do things together. From book clubs and gamer guilds to startup cities and nation states and everything in between. If you're a group of humans wanting to achieve a shared mission together, you can use this Eden for All process. What does that look like? Step one is you select your catalysts. So catalysts are teams of 5 to 7 people, ED, what we're doing here with chief delegates. Selected by the community using the Eden political playoffs / upvote process, whom embody the consensus vision of the community. So that's one of our chief unlocks here, right? Is we have these elections where you're meant to form consensus, and then that keeps happening. And then ideally you have 7 people who represent the shared consensus of everyone in the community. So it's a really powerful process. And this really helps communities who are new to form be able to select a team who actually represent all their interests to set up the DAO and the rest of the community. So step one is you select your catalysts using this upvote process. Then those catalysts go through the process.
Wait, hold on step. Why is it 7 on step 1?
I put 7, and 7 is just this is for some communities that might be large, that might want more than 5 people. I'm maxing it out at 7, and that's just based on psychological and organizational research that says a group of 7 people, you don't want to go larger than that, are most effective at getting stuff done. So this is why I've tried to limit it to 7, saying that's the upper bound. 5 is what we're currently using. But this isn't for Eden itself. This is for the Eden for All, incubator program. And this is where, 150 new people, they don't want to necessarily join Eden itself, like the Genesis Eden, which we're a part of. They want to set up an entirely new instance for whatever it is they're doing. But of course, do this all on top of EOS Antelope and grow our community, because this is all under the third horizon of growth, right? So putting it all into context here, that's why I've added 7. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would add growth. I would add extension of growth as a slide above it to clarify the distinction between Eden on EOS, first 3 slides, to then this.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that was actually one of the confusions that I'm only adding to when we keep using the word Eden for both the process and the community and the Genesis community. And we definitely need a map, detailing what these names mean. I'm talking about the process that any community who might not even join Eden itself, but they want to join, Antelope and EOS and grow what we're doing here, which is part of our mission of EOS, of Eden, right? To serve the EOS community. Does it make sense?
Yes, so far great. I'm thinking select your catalyst, select your leaders, or select your founders, or catalyst is good as well. I just a little bit of confusion there, could mean a few things.
Good idea.
Okay.
I just, avoid leaders and founders because they're not really either of those things. They're just catalyzing and setting up the community, right?
Catalyst is different. I see what you're saying.
I'll fix that later. You get the idea. Because step 2, the catalysts launch the DAO. So this is what we're literally doing real time right now as chief delegates, is we're forming this decentralized community. Each cycle we're going through and changing the rules and, setting the whole organization up. So we're kind of mimicking what's happening with us right now. So that community went and selected their people. Let's use an example. We've got the independent party in the States. They want to select their own, president of the independent party and just declare themselves independent from US democracy, whatever. Let's imagine that. So they've got 1 million people. So they can use the Eden political process, and they've, used that process, and now they've selected 7 people who represent those, 1 million people across America. So those 7 people are going to go through the process of setting up the independent party. What does that actually mean? So they launch the community DAO. So they'll set up the circles, which you see us doing real time right now. They set up the roles that other people might be able to fill. So if this is the independent party, what roles do they have? And they have to go through the process of figuring that out, right? I put in quests. So quest is, a way that any community member might contribute to the cause. So a quest for the independent party might be, write an article about the independent party and how great it is. That might be a quest or something. They set up the initial rules for the community, etc. So the launch team, catalysts, maybe I'll call them launch team, is responsible for going and setting up the DAO and establishing the mission. But what's really powerful about the Eden process is that this launch team now represents the shared consensus of the whole community, which is one of our chief unlocks with all of this. Okay, so that's step 2. Step 3, then they turn it around and they invite the community to take over. So at this point, the catalysts might fade away. They might change into like a council board where every season we go around and, still elect 7 people to represent the community. It's up to every community to decide what to do with this catalyst team at this point. But I really think it might be cool if they just completely dissolve them all together and become completely decentralized, and, that'd be fun. But anyway, but after the catalysts have set up that environment, the community comes in to fill it out. They play the roles, they're completing quests, and they deliver on the mission and vision of that community. Okay, why you on EOS? I can make this longer, but instant and fee-free on-chain governance. I mean, holy shit, that's awesome. That's why we picked, EOS.io in the beginning, is that, hey, if we want to really make this process open to everyone, you don't get better than fee-free on-chain, right? So I think that's really, really powerful. And then transparent, open, and democratic processes for selecting leaders who share consensus vision and governing your communities.
So it's technically not correct, fee-free. It's just extremely low fees.
Well, if you do first sign or pays, which I would advocate for, so I would always maintain fee-free because we can do that. And it's definitely worth keeping it that way. So
you're right. Joining fee?
Yep.
Say again?
Joining fee? Would that count in this section? Probably not.
Well, there is actually a fee there's an induction fee.
Right.
But not a transaction.
Maybe I'm not. Yeah, right. Yeah. I was just talking about why your community might come and use the man.
Yeah, not negative, the selling points.
I've got to change this. Why launch?
Yeah.
There you go.
Cool. Yeah. Nice. I really liked your previous suggestion for launch.
That was another confusion with the Eden use. There you go.
Yeah. Cool.
Sorry, I cut you off, Waxo. What you're saying?
Oh, sorry. I liked your idea of using the term launch team. That was good.
Yeah.
Instead of leaders.
Good idea.
This really good. I think it's really, really good, Ricky. It gives a clear piece of work which shows direction. So I think it's good. I think there might be. I'm happy to work with you on it, and maybe make some small refinements to make it better. I could even help. How you were looking at design elements. I can certainly help with that, and I think a little bit of the design elements will really make it punchier. But the content's sweet.
That's all this was. I know the design is terrible. That was not the point here. The point here is to convey information from y'all, make sure I'm on point here. I'm heading in the right direction, what you guys might add. And then definitely, I think this wants to get sexier. And if you want to do that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll do that for sure.
For the record, I didn't think the design was terrible, but I can definitely upgrade it. That's for sure.
I'll try. I'll try my best. Yeah, Reiki, we should host a meeting and go through it and see what we can do. But if you send, if it's on Google Slides, which it is, the best thing, the way I work with this, so I don't know if I should be going into it right now, but once we've got the content 100% nailed down, I'll take it off there, I'll work it in Illustrator, and then I'll put it back onto Google Slides as images. But it's best to have the confirmed content, so I'm not going back to Illustrator and back and forth. Yeah.
Awesome.
Happy to do that.
So I'll share that in the chat with you all right now. Feel free to go in there and change any language, add some stuff. That'd be great. But yeah, did I miss anything? Did I kind of capture everything that's alive in the community right now?
I really like the idea of multiple mission statements. I think we may be too decentralized to have one overarching mission statement. And it would give like future CDs like 3 slots of mission statements for them to get consensus on their particular values. So I think we should consider that. Yeah, and the rest of the content seemed on point. So yeah, good job.
I agree. I think 3 is good. I think for marketing we need 1, but
And that would
3
be
is
the
good for
growth,
internal.
which I think you nailed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could just grab one of the 3, like that's the marketing one.
It's probably best to come up with another one that would represent all 3 in one go. So then you don't have 3 separate messages to represent who
It's
you
pretty
are.
hard though, no?
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet with these 3 subjects, but I think I'll have a look at it when I'm putting the deck together. I'll see what are the commonalities between each of the 3 things. What do they represent? And then see if there's a new statement we can come up with that. I think it's a possibility, but I'm not ruling it out yet, Jesse. Not yet. You can help if you've got time as well. That'd be great, because I know you're good with this sort of thing.
I know this was a big one when you talked about before about taking clips out of the show and sharing it with the community. I would appreciate if we grabbed this and sent it out to both groups or all the channels we have to get feedback, see if we missed anything, what they might change, because really our goal is to represent the community, and I want to make sure we're actually doing that. So I would love to sense check this and see, what gaps we have before Waxy take it and make it beautiful. Love to see if we're all on point. Make sure we're not missing opportunities here. Yeah,
I think that's a great idea. I can certainly trim this, or what we could do is let the chief delegates have their input if there is any, and then do another recording just of that video if you wanted, just of you pitching. Options are there. It's another option, or I could just snip this one. I'll let you choose whatever you want.
We can snip this one.
I'll do that.
I can get it out.
No worries.
Unless, if you guys have anything else to add, that's my time, I think.
That was great work. Really like to see that. Thank you, Reiki, for doing it. Really cool.
It's been a journey because this community did not know what was going on. So I didn't know what I was really getting into when Chris invited me to Eden. I'm like, yep, take it on. I kind of assumed there'd be a lot more structure I was stepping into. So I mean, it's great. I mean, I'm used to these kind of chaotic environments, and it's been fun. So yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cheers.
Javier.
My next.
Yeah.
So I'm on my phone internet, so I don't want to break up by having my video on. Sorry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my video off. But I've been focusing mostly on the Spend Explorer. Like we're rolling out the first version of it, and I really want to start communicating to the different Eden members what the tool is, get some more feedback, try and teach people how to use it. So on that side, we're creating a documentation for end user, basically, explaining how to use Spend Explorer. We're also preparing a blog post, and I'd like to start communicating more with level 1 delegates. I think we had our first call today. That was awesome. That went really well. And I think we should repeat that. We should have definitely frequent or a cadence of all hands calls with level 1, level 2 delegates. So hopefully we can schedule something like that again soon. We've also got our weekly Sybil resistant SBT NTT call with Jesse. So that's happening on Monday. We had a good call last Monday. And this Monday coming up, I'd like to start changing the Eden Smart Contract, deploy that to Jungle, and hopefully we can start testing all that before the next election in the next couple of weeks. So I'm also working on that with Jesse, and I've been also meeting weekly with Han on the Smart Proxy. So we've got, and Chris has been on those calls, both Chris's as well, and moving that project along. We've made some changes since we spoke last, and continue to work on the Smart Proxy. I reached out to a level 1 delegate, Crypto Dunker. He's got like a YouTube channel, and I think I'd like to make a video. So we're going to have an interview tomorrow. I'd like to go over the Smart Proxy. I'm sorry. Well, we could talk about the Smart Proxy, the Spend Explorer mostly, as I think it way of, well, he's the level 1 delegate. I could teach him how to use it. And hopefully if we have that on call and a recording, it would be helpful for just getting the word out how to use the Spend Explorer. However, I'm sure we're going to talk about other subjects. Definitely want to talk about the NTT project, the smart proxy, and the Block 1 donation is probably going to be something we'll talk about as well. So I'll do my best to explain as far as I know it, what's happening with Block 1, the donation, the new treasury top off we got, and that'll be happening tomorrow. So I like the idea of using community members, especially if they're delegates and they're really into like content creation or videos. So I want to collaborate with Crypto Dunker on this, and that's my plan. Basically, keep doing what we're doing, and really happy to see the Spend Explorer kind of already being shared around. We've gotten some really good feedback. Thank you, Jesse, for some of your feedback. We've already made some changes. We deployed a new version today with a bunch of bug fixes. So we'll continue to develop. It's very much work in progress, but we want to get the community to participate and really build stuff that resonates with the community members. So looking forward to more feedback and talking more on a one-to-one basis with the different level 1 delegates and try and get the application built to fit the community as best as possible. So that's my focus. What else? I think that pretty much sums it up. We do want to set up a test election, and the Jungle Testnet has an instance of Eden. So if anyone's interested in participating in a mock election, making sure the remove member function is working as expected, the NTTs or SBTs are being issued correctly, we'll be definitely scheduling some mock elections coming up. So anyone's invited. We've got a group enough to run an election, but if anyone wants to try something or participate, well, that'll be happening as well during the next couple of weeks. And I'm looking forward to testing the bot that Luca was telling us about. However, the time slot he proposed is exactly when we're talking about the NTTs, Jesse, next week. So I'm not sure if we'll be able to make that, because I really want to make use of next week's call and try and get that working.
Oh, okay. Let's try to change our call, Javier. I'll see if we can change it. Are you able to do any later? Wait. Sorry, I'm losing the.
I'm sorry,
time.
I missed what was that?
So the testing for the bot is Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Is that what you're saying?
It's there, but if it's not a possibility, we'll figure something out.
Okay, yeah. We'll figure it out later. Definitely want to make both of those calls. So if they're at the same time, I'll try to move some stuff around.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I think that's it. It's a lot less than 15 minutes, but that's pretty much all I have.
Great work, Javier. Lots going on there. It was good to see a demo earlier today of the Spend Explorer. It looks really, really good. Looking forward to using that. So I'll go now. I'm not going to take 15 minutes either. So I think the meeting we had earlier with the L1s needs to be repeated more frequently. And since we haven't got long left in our term, we should definitely at least have one more before we end. Are we all in agreement with that concept? Do we think that's a good idea? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Who arranged?
If we can try and let people know with plenty of time and just remind people a few times before the call to try and get more participation, I think that'd be great.
Why
So
don't we implement?
this is part of. I asked Luca about the reminders. I have some ideas around Eden reminders in general, but good news is that so the bees use a chatbot, and we've been we can integrate into Eden if Luca does not want to have too many reminders from his bot. Then we'd have 2 different bots. So I don't want to go back to we had 4 different websites at one point. So we'll see. But yes, the point is that this would be a good use, perhaps we can convince Luca. Although I know he's quite confident in the parameters that he wants, but we'll see what he says.
So Jesse, you've got a notification bot already that we could use.
Yeah.
And he's using a Pomelo pitch right now to try and get one built.
No, but his bot is doing different things than what my bot can do.
Okay.
His bot is more sophisticated. My bot can simply, well, we can do some sophisticated stuff, but it's just for reminders. Like our scope of building it was just for reminders.
Okay.
And so if Luca doesn't want to have that many reminders, we could use our bot. But I think that if we could convince Luca to have reminders for certain meetings for the delegates, that would be good. I'll get with him. I'll see what he says.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be good. So if we had one this week with the L1s, we'll not have one next week, but the week after we could have a meeting with the L1s. Let me just check the date, make sure it's not Christmas Day or something like that. Yeah, it is over the Christmas week. Maybe in our last week. So like say Thursday, 29th of December. I'll pencil that in now.
No, I think I think it should be. So the election January 7 on a Saturday. I think it should be like January 5.
Okay.
Or January 6. Because then we can really promote it right before the election to get some signups right before the deadline. So that Thursday would be 24 hours before the deadline.
That's a good idea. Okay,
Javier,
cool.
now I just have you on the call here. For our meeting on Monday, what's your schedule look like on Monday? Can you do after 2 p.m. Eastern?
Let me check. Usually I've got a few calls on Monday. I could do 4 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, I'll see what they say.
What else have I got?
Great.
Oh, sorry.
No, I just wanted to. What was I going to mention? Oh goodness, I just escaped my mind. Sorry. Go ahead. It'll come back to me in a minute.
Okay, I spoke to Frios today on the Twitter Spaces, and they're very interested in potentially using the whitelisting service that we have because they have issues right now within their infrastructure, multiple account users, and they're distributing funds to them.
Yeah, because they have a UBI thing, right?
Yeah, and they're starting up a DAO, and they're going to be including the Eden election process potentially within that DAO as well. So he was happy to know that it's open source, but obviously we'll be able to support them as the Genesis community, and that'll be included eventually when he's achieved that level on the Eden election site as well as someone who's using our product, the Genesis.
And that's where the incubator comes in, because that's a perfect example of someone who might want to go through that Eden for All incubator process to launch their community. And then that's a service that Eden, this Genesis community, could be offering other communities. And it's a revenue generating potential. So yeah, everything is open source, but most people don't know how to go through that process. So when they want to set up a community, it's like, great, set up your community. This is the journey we could take you through. And yeah, at that time, we have a whole community of governance engineers who've been through this process however many times, right? And they're able to go out there and then you get it, start consulting. So layer 1 and chief delegates and all the members of Eden could now be consultants helping these other communities get set up. And this is how we become, actually financially generating outside of staying in our same ecosystem, right?
Awesome.
That's you're thinking about like charging a consulting fee?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when communities want to come in here and like have help and get handheld through the process, that's what our whole community is then here to able to do. So, if we're growing fast enough and there's enough communities wanting to use these tools to govern, anyway, you guys get the idea.
Nice. I like it. I quickly DM'd Zach Gall after he appeared on our L1 call earlier today. Provided me with some more information about the communication that's been happening with the Korean community and the Chinese community. So I'll be passing it over to you, Javier. You might already know There seem to be, I think the Chinese community ran into an issue where they don't have enough funds to develop the infrastructure needed to receive the funds from the INA. So chicken and
the
egg,
old
but
chicken
obviously,
and egg problem.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been in contact with someone from the Korean community, San Yong, and he was looking for help to set up a new instance of Eden. And since we've already successfully set up the Genesis and migrated to that, we offered any help we could give as far as making sure that the infrastructure is set up correctly. The other thing is that we're looking to set up the Korean Eden under the Eden namespace. That's currently controlled by the group of CDs or this group. So we would need to create an MSIG to say create a new account, korea.eden or something like this for them. But I think it's the most kind of cohesive way of having all these Edens under the same namespace and kind of like an umbrella to keep all these Edens together. So definitely a good experience to set up one new Eden for a new language. And hopefully we can replicate that and continue to assist their team. I really want to teach them how to do this, or whatever we can do to help them to have another tech team, kind of independent, running their own infrastructure, and start creating more technical capacity to run Edens. So we know not reliant on just one company or one group of tech team, or we can cross-check what we're doing and get second opinions and all that. So I think it'll be much more resilient if we can have more teams running different Eden instances and kind of share our learnings. So that's kind of my vision with that, and already offer to any help they need. We're here for that. So definitely going to be working with them. And the one thing I did want to say when I forgot previously is that since you were talking about the calendar, right, and how we really don't have much time left before the next election, if you think about it, we're kind of nearing the end of our term. Is if we want to propose a new set of bylaws or any changes to the bylaws, and one of the aspects which we were discussing could be a possibility is adjusting the Treasury disbursement rate to something more sustainable. I don't know, 15%. We can run some numbers or do some projections, but just throwing it out there because we might want to start talking about any necessary bylaws changes with enough time to discuss, to share, and then to leave the next set of CDs with some of our ideas for the bylaws. I just don't want it to creep up on us during the end of the term. So that's what I wanted to say.
Luca was saying something along the lines of you can midterm make the decision to receive a reduction in funds. So I'm not familiar with that myself, but apparently it's in the bylaws under some sections. So I think if we have that opportunity, we should take it. If whatever consensus we come to on that decision anyway, and if we all come to a consensus, then we should take that opportunity to do so. I think a reduction in funds makes sense, and it's in this current circumstance where we can then prolong the life of Eden as it continues to grow. And then if they need to be increased by the next chief delegates, they can be, and so on.
I'd be interested in hearing some thoughts from the L1s and other Eden members. But I do understand.
I can share it this way too, is at 10K EOS, which is 10,000 US dollars, that's 120K a year. So it depends on what type of organization we want here. Do we want full-time chief delegates? Do we want half-time chief delegates? What quality of chief delegates are we wanting to be able to attract and retain? Because I know this plays a big part of me. I definitely stepped up my engagement when my pay increased because I have a whole lot of different engagements. And I got to be really careful with my time, and I'm getting paid 190K elsewhere. So it's like, you know, if you're going to pay me 3K, you're going to get so much of my time. So I think that is a question when we just look at numbers, because it's not just numbers. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm not trying to, well, I am being self-serving. You'll get more of me if you pay me more, you know, so if you want that, and I'm sure all of you feel the same way, and any chief delegate would, right? So I think we take that into account. I don't know what that number is. So at that point, it's 120K if it's 10K a month, which I think is what it was this month. So I think that's our point. And when we look at the globe, what's a good pay? Who are we trying to attract? I think if we approach it from that lens, it's a healthy lens. And then, of course, what's our roadmap or our burn rate at that rate? So I think, yeah, if we can run some numbers, and I don't know if you have this, Javi, already. Is this something that you've already worked on where you have a treasury and a burn rate and all that stuff?
No, but an Excel sheet, I think, is in order. Basically, something where we can plug in different distribution rates and then figure out what it means. and how much runway we're left with. So something to think about, right? Not something we need to decide right away, but just, or we can leave as is and then let the next set of CDs decide. That's another option.
Yeah, because
But
the way the bylaws are approved, it's all in one go. The next CDs can't say, oh, we like this part, but not this part, so we're just going to approve this part. It's all in one. And so if we were to make a change and the next CDs didn't want that, then all of our other changes wouldn't go through. But yeah, I think it's a kind of a tricky decision to make, and we should think about it. We should definitely be looking at a spreadsheet.
Thank you, Lenny, for sharing. So point 11, a greater than 2/3 vote on chief delegates can reduce the percentage midterm previous treasury disbursements shall be 15% of the Genesis.Eden treasury each month. So yeah, well, I think, like you say, run some numbers, find out what's right, because it'd be good to know the total expense.
Actually, right? I want to bring in another perspective. The first call we had with Eve, he said he would pay us more if we needed it. So I'm not even sure where this protectionist mentality comes from, as if we're going to run out of funds. If we're being effective, we're attracting quality talent, which in a way I think we might even want to increase, depending on, anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't think we actually need to increase. I would say if we're going to go a direction, we might want to go direction if we're wanting to be serious. And I think, chief delegates, this is a really complicated ecosystem that we're forming here. Having chief delegates of only 5 of us being full-time, then we are a massive organization with 5 full-time members. Like, okay, that's actually pretty small. So I don't know why we would want to go in the other direction where chief delegates couldn't justify being full-time. They would only have to be part-time because the pay is not high enough.
When we came into this position, we had a set amount. We had an increase since then, but we were reasonably happy and still achieving good things with the amount we were previously getting paid. With greater pay, we will have probably greater interest in taking part, like you say. It's definitely a carrot.
I think there's a middle ground here. I think that there's still full-time pay that could be less than $10,000 a month. I think that would still attract, like if it was like 8,000, not 10,000, just throwing out a number. Because I think there's definitely quite a few Eden members that would like to see a reduction. It's going to be perhaps worth our time to really dig into why that is. I do think it's a protectionist thing, like you said, Reiki, but there's definitely a sense.
It's also a challenge with having a global community, because $10,000 is very different in different parts of the globe. Yeah. So some people, that's like, holy shit, that's a king's ransom. Other people's like, okay, I'm paying rent for a family in America. So I think it really is different. So anyway, something to take into account, because I've run into this challenge multiple times in DAOs where it's I'm constantly living in more expensive. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm having this stance just because it was interesting for me to give more time to Eden.
Yeah.
And that's just my own place. I know I'm in a much more expensive country than most, and this is just my own options that I'm currently dealing with. So this is very much my point of view. I don't want to influence that too much. So I'm only one voice, and I'm happy to actually weigh if there's, even a majority one way and support that. So if 3 of you are happy of going one way, I'll join you.
I see where you're coming from, Reiki, and I think that spending money is good as long as it's well spent, right? As long as it's going in the right places. If we got the right people, if we're making the right decisions, if we're building the right tools, then yes, by all means, let's go for it. And I think I completely agree with what Lenny's saying, like accountability in level 1 delegates in particular. Like a lot of L1s are more dispersed, and there's a lot of money there. There's 18 level 1s at $2,000 a pop. That's a lot of money every month. So perhaps there's this idea of like, okay, if we want to keep this burn rate, we need to have maybe someone like another circle, another function, another, like, okay, you're our controller, our accountant, our who's keeping numbers on who's watching where the money's going.
I thought you just built that tool. So it sounds like the tool's coming alive at exactly the right time.
Up to every delegate to report on their own what they're doing.
Well, then it's actually up to Eden members every election to vote people in who will do that, right? And do that on their campaign. So I think it's up to that democratic process to see, are we wanting accountability? Maybe Eden members don't want it. Well, we'll see in the next election, right? But it's definitely something to run as your platform.
Yeah, I think there should be some sort of expectation that delegates report back where funds are going, especially if we're deciding to keep, an increased burn rate. So that's my opinion. I'm not against funding the like having proper funds to make the ecosystem grow. I totally get where you're going. I just don't want the money to be wasted. That's all.
It'll be really interesting. Well, it depends what we do, but a change in L1 delegate behavior may be interesting to observe with 2,000 EOS per month. Is it enough? Like, maybe it's worth testing. I don't know.
Yeah.
What I'd be interested to see is how many terms we could have at what burn rate. And then, so we know what time period we have to generate enough income to keep going, or to have a system that will generate income.
Yeah. So there's a few assumptions, like the token price, right? That'll change everything. And also, it's 15% of the treasury every month. So every month you have 15% less than the month before, and every month it'll just decline, right? So it's 10,000 now, it'll be less in the future.
But it's a compounding decline.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So,
which is important because it's not just 7 months and we're empty. This can go on for infinity. We're reducing our pay. So it is actually a nice game theory because chief delegates will get a reduction in pay for every month they're not increasing the treasury, right? And every delegate is, right? So then I think our next conversations come back to Eve or Block One, but I don't know how much the community cares to talk to them again. And prove all the epic stuff we're doing. If we're actually executing on each one of those horizons brought today, that's a lot of value for EOS as a platform. For one, positioning us as head of all the other layer one ecosystems and actually making us relevant again. So I think we have an opportunity to add a ton of value in which ENF and Block One, I'm sure, would like to finance. So we have an opportunity to either push on the gas and try to make this thing grow rapidly and run with it, or, protectionism, which would be a reduction and kind of slowing down, in my opinion. So
when you say community in B1, I think the Eden community has been, well, we've seen that poll. We know how positively that was received. There are a loud minority, which we're currently dealing with, and loud might influence.
That's a fair point. So yeah, can we pull up that poll? Let me go try to find it. I'd like to know what the results were.
Yeah. Last I looked, it was around 80-something%, but it was at 90% at one point. And it was posted by somebody who thought it would go the other way. Yeah. But there's a few people who just constantly talk about it.
There's a concept called the minority rule. This was written by Nassim Taleb, and it corroborates what we're seeing. It is quite a small minority that are not in Eden, mostly.
Yeah.
And so we shouldn't, even though there's a lot of psychological dynamics there, we should do our best to ignore that as much as possible.
Playing a different perspective, I don't know if we should ignore it. And I think it's something to integrate and be aware of, because it would have been necessary for us to consult the community feedback about what happened, because the criticism of us playing by a similar standard that we're trying to demonstrate against, I think it would have been interesting to reach out to the community and ask their opinion on it, and then speaking from the community's perspective. I mean, and why not? Why aren't we seeking that on all cases, not just this Block One or ones that we think are politically interesting? But I think just as a general perspective, it would be interesting if the delegates were reaching out to the broader Eden community on big things that are happening. And
Eden community.
Eden,
yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Community. But
Oh, no, I'm
it's like,
speaking specifically Eden members who have the NTT, who are part of this process, who are help. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, fine, good.
I
agree.
meant, yeah, Eden community, yes.
Yeah, Eden community, yes, but the people who are against it are not part of the Eden community.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
there are some part of the Eden
Yeah,
community that
some,
are against
not
it,
many.
but not many, and the loudest ones are not in Eden.
I wasn't aware of that. Okay. So not everyone in the Eden on EOS Telegram is in Eden.
No, only the Eden members chat. They're only.
So yeah, right.
I don't know how clear that is for everyone, but anyway. Okay, interesting.
So it's not the Eden. So you said the Eden on EOS. Oh yeah, the public Telegram chat of Eden on EOS. There are members in there that are not part of the Eden community.
Got it.
And I can understand that's confusing.
Yeah. And it's not something I don't think we have control of it. I don't know who's an admin on that. Let's see if I can find out.
I think it's okay to have, because it's a public chat, and we have our private chat for Eden members only.
Yeah.
It is good. It's just interesting to hear feedback from outside of Eden too. And
yeah, definitely.
We did get some, like the particular part of the language, could have been reevaluated by us, and I think we accepted that feedback.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Well, I just think as a maybe part of our chief delegate platform, reaching out to the wider EOS community to see how we're serving the whole, I think is really important too. And building bridges with ENF and Block One as an actor and all of it, I think is a really powerful move as well. Stay out of the legal thing. There's no need for us to get involved in that anyway. Yeah. Focus on growth and building tools and using this technology to help humanity right now, because, fighting about anything really is stupid effort. We could focus our effort on just building the tools and growing out Eden. So I think it's worth saying that and maybe having that as a platform. But anyway, how do you guys feel?
Yeah, I feel the same. Kind of agnostic. We represent a community, we're not necessarily under the same, we're not part of the ENF who are suing Block One. I think it's important to build bridges. It's something I've said before, build bridges, not burn them. I'm all for that. And if it helps the community out with no strings attached, that suits me.
That's, I think, another, very clear point. If this gets in a line where it would be hurting or helping a lawsuit, I think we say no and we stay away from those things. Yeah. But as long as it is no strings attached and there's no obligation on either side of the dispute, I think that's the role we need to play. So I don't think we get political on either side, and make that very clear. Cool.
Completely. Totally in alignment with that. Totally in alignment. The last thing I want is people thinking, oh, you're against something, which we haven't said we're against or for something. Just, building and developing a community. Just no need to attack us. But like we say, it's not internal, it's external non-members who are paid sometimes by the people suing Block One. So that's that. Okay.
Yeah. Anything else we want to cover today? Oh, sorry. I just got excited and started facilitating.
No, I think I much prefer the flowing discussion than one way. But I think it would be good for us to put together a list of Eden associated Pomelo pitches and present them to the L1 delegates and show where we suggest money might be going to, or could be going to, if you want to continue using Eden funds to support Eden.
I've built a collection of all Eden-related projects under my name. So there's a collection called Eden that I put together that has all the Eden projects. I shared it, and some people asked me to add their projects, and I checked them out. They did seem to be related to DAX, DAOs, Eden in general. So there is a collection out there, because I do think it's a great use of their funds. Okay, well, I don't really know what I'm going to do with my L1 funds, or I haven't really. I could always say, look, I donated to those projects on Pomelo, and I really want to see that a lot of the Eden members get benefits from Pomelo, and I also donated to the Korean, the Chinese Eden, like other not just this English speaking Eden, but also just the wider, Eden community, I guess, broader community. So there is a collection in Pomelo called Eden that I put together. If you guys want to check it out.
This brings up another thing, and thank you, Javi, for putting that together. But what do we think about setting a cultural norm, maybe even adding this into the bylaws, that you use the Spend Explorer to show what you did? If you didn't show up because it wasn't enough money for you, or you just didn't have time, or whatever it is, that you just then donate those to Pomelo. And just have, I mean, I don't know about putting this in the bylaws, but maybe it's worth saying this as like a cultural norm, because that is important for people joining an organization. I know, because I just lived this. I didn't know what the expectation was. Like, okay, am I supposed to take the funds to pay myself? Should I be giving these away to some other people? Like, do I donate some of them? Like, what the heck do I do? So I think it is nice having at least some cultural norm that we state for new members who are coming in, becoming layer 1 delegates and receiving these funds on, what do you do with them? Because that was also some feedback from a couple of the layer, the L1s that I talked to, is they're like, well, I don't know what to do with the funds. And I just kind of pointed them towards Pomelo, and they're like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. But it's like, I think that's worth saying. And I wanted to get your guys' feedback on that. If that's, an alignment, disalignment, what do you got in the last few minutes, if I could?
I don't think it should be on the bylaws, like you said, but I do think that we can set a culture. This is another use case for a reminder chatbot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that Eden members feel supported by their delegates, and that if you do have a project that you have, that Eden has your back, or that if we're going to hire someone, we'd rather hire someone within Eden, or like Sashit's making something that's doing NFTs. Okay, let's use that for the civil protection. Or Crypto Dunker has a YouTube channel. He's making videos. Okay, let's use him as a platform to get the message out. Or Michael and Bywire, is offering something, or the bees can do something. So we should have this internal economy where it's like, well, we have these funds. Let's support each other with this. Let's support, what everyone else wants to do, and just give people a way of telling us how we can help them. And I think you'll know whether someone donated to your Pomelo grant, whether your services were hired by an Eden member or with Eden funds. And this was one of Dan Larimer's ideas initially, is also having this internal economy and trying to multiply the effect of the funds by using each other's talents, right?
That's great. I've got one final thing. It's just that Han is trying to organize a meeting with chief delegates and block producers. I think he might have that ready for next Friday for our next chief delegate meeting, if we'd like to do that. I'll get confirmation. It takes quite a lot of organization to get hold of some of the VPs, but that would be cool. And that'll be in reference to the Eden Smart Proxy and the VP whitelisting service. And it's obviously a good opportunity for the community to see block producers and for us to speak to the block producers representing the Eden community. So yeah, cool.
That'd be great. Yeah.
So I think it's been a really good and productive meeting. Some great presentations. Everyone's doing great work. So thank you all. And any last statements, and I'll close it down. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you everyone, and great work, Reiki, with the presentation. I like that a lot as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. It's a lot of fun. See you next time.
See you.
See you next week, guys.